day and welcome to the AAU TV Mid-Week News, and we are coming to you from the headquarters of the Association of African Universities in Accra, Ghana. And my name is Lydia Nyame. With me are
Jemima, Deladem, Dotsey.
And my name is Agyemang, Okyere, Darko.
Now the headlines on higher education. Institution appoints first black woman dean in engineering. And again, University of Malawi, the Lincoln finally accomplished.
And in our health news, stomach may be the secret to fighting obesity. And also COVID-19 pandemic severely impacts mental health of young people.
In our tech news, a newly discovered technology is expected to dramatically improve your phone's battery. We're glad you tuned in. Don't go anywhere. We'll bring you more of higher education, health, and tech stories. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome to GTP Health and Safety Corner. If you feel like stepping out, remember social distancing. You might just save a life. Rock at home, stay safe. Wash your hands with soap and running water. Spaced out but still in touch. Check in on your loved ones and stay safe. GTP, timeless.
Welcome back from the break, and showing University of Technology's first black female executive dean for the Faculty of Engineering and the Built Environment, Dr. Grace Kanakana Katumba, has intended to implement sweeping changes to position the faculty as South Africa's leading school of engineering. According to the Times Higher Education World University Rankings for Engineers, Swan University of Technology ranks second in South Africa. Globally, it ranks 301 to 400. Since Kanakana Katumba assumed her position on February 1st, 2021, her vision as executive dean of the faculty has been to assess how she can elevate the faculty into the leading position. She stated that she would like the faculty to support the university's vision, doing it in a way that sets the faculty apart from other universities of technology. She noted that the youth and graduate unemployment is a major bottleneck of the country's young people. According to Kanakana Katumba, South Africa's higher education institutions need to be more deliberate about how to solve issues of graduate unemployment, currently estimated to be about 1.8 according to Quarterly Labour Survey 2020 conducted by Statistics South Africa. She again emphasized on the need to build innovative capabilities, value chains between faculties so that graduates produced are innovative by nature. Well, great news coming from South Africa, and for the first time in the history of South Africa, the first black woman has been appointed as dean for the Faculty of Engineering. I must say kudos to her. Well, I have a few statements made by the Dean Kanakana Katumba, and I quote, "We have to solve our own problems as Africans. So if our students don't have the graduate attribute to go out and be able to do that, we are in trouble as a country where youth unemployment sits at almost 70%. And more importantly, she mentioned that we need to build innovative capabilities and value chains between our faculties so that the graduates we produce are innovative by nature. So I want to find out, how do we build innovative capabilities and value chains between faculties to make sure that our graduates are innovative by nature?
Okay, first I will talk about, I will let us understand what innovation is, where innovation is bringing one's idea into reality. And our value chain here will talk about the result of the innovation being in a continuous action. So our first line of, action is to shift from our traditional, is to shift our institutional curriculum for our traditional way of learning.
Okay.
We have to, we have to use the science and the research that we learn in our classrooms. We have to make it work. We have to put actions in our research and in our science in order to help to bring out the innovative capabilities and the value chain. And I also talk about the the faculties bringing out, preparing themselves, or let me say, producing equipment that will help in the innovation aspect of the institution, and also providing skilled trained lecturers. Okay. Our previous news, we got to know that having skilled lecturers is going to help in our universities. We really need them. We find people going to other universities because they know that those universities have good skilled lecturers who help them to gain the abilities and the skills that they need. So I think that is it for my innovation and capabilities.
Okay, Agyemang, what do you have?
Yeah, I think I would want to just throw more light on the graduate attributes we're talking about here. These are the problem-solving, very innovative, and championing, pioneering spirit we're talking about here. So graduates who are poised with these qualities are what society expects or needs.
Okay.
Now, creating that atmosphere, that innovative and innovative-oriented environment, and a value chain in our faculties, all relies more on our kind of research we do. Because if you don't research, you don't know what the next level of action will be. Research, I quote from my previous supervisor, Mr. Agyemang, doctor, says that research is the heartbeat of life.
Exactly.
It means that we don't live if we don't know what the gaps are. We live better, we become more innovative when we know what it is now and what the future holds. If we haven't done this very well, then there's no need for us to even think of even moving ahead. So first of all, there is a need for a more diverse student population where research is into interest and background. Today's environment, research is more of like what has been done. Go pick it and just work it out. We don't deal with interest, we don't deal with backgrounds, and it's not diverse. If that's corrected, we can see a headway. And also, a more diverse career goal of research students due to the constant changing employment market. Today, the jobs nowadays are all IT. We used to be those days where jobs were just administrative. But the future jobs are all into artificial intelligence, computer science. So if your research is not geared towards ICT, information communication technology, then there is a need for us to now step up over there. And finally, every research we do must be underpinned extensively on ICT. The old ways are different. We used to print papers to go collect data. And your questionnaires, a whole lot of them, 200 questionnaires, 300 questionnaires, and one person sits down and then starts doing the imputing. We should change from that attitude.
Exactly.
I think all this is matter in ensuring that we have an innovative, enabled faculty, more importantly also with more of innovation, basically.
Okay, you know, I must say that this really is a wake-up call for women in STEM, and I have a statement here by Kanakana Katumba that I so much love. I quote, "There are still a lot of issues we need to confront in this industry because it is still very much male-dominated. And I know women who feel stuck because men will still get first preference, although women qualify." What do we make of this statement?
You know, I would say it's true when we say we have low number of female in the engineering field. You know, in a continent where the proportion of female graduating in the university, coming out with courses like the science, the technology, the engineering, and mathematics is very low. It's as low as 30%, let me say below 30%. And it's very, you know, it's very bad. It's not encouraging at all. For instance, you can do a survey only in Ghana, and you realize that most females enter, or let me say, pursue courses like the banking, the secretariat course, the catering course, the nursing course, and others. And you ask yourself why.
That's true.
Trust me, there are most ladies who would like to pursue such courses, but the perception alone, and people will say it's difficult, and you're a lady, you can't do it. And those perceptions tend to, you know, get tagged on them, and they prevent themselves into offering those courses. But I think bit by bit, the notion and the perception is being changed, because I have a few people, let me say ladies, females, who are now entering into such courses.
I mean, the statistics speaks for itself, because, I mean, in those days, you wouldn't even have gotten 30%.
Exactly, but we are hoping that, you know, day in, day out, bit by bit, it changes.
Exactly, Agyemang.
Yeah, I think a study done by Barbara Tia and Etal, 2017, was into the influence of personality, gender, and career choice.
Okay.
And they realized that, I think it was conducted by some tertiary students in Ghana, and the study findings was that career choice and gender have no significant relationship. It means that you cannot decide one's career because of their gender. So women don't go into engineering. This totally debunks that notion. I think that the next line of action should be what government should do, basically the Ministry of Higher Education, Ministry of Science and Technology should do to make science, technology, engineering, mathematics programs more appealing to women. we can adopt the affirmative action, whereby women should be given some special incentives. That a woman, if you offer to study science or technology or engineering or mathematics, you have some scholarship, you have some boosting, you have some training, some extra training, some extra incentives to make you go in for a STEM course.
That's true.
That can also boost the participation.
Exactly.
And also a national program or initiative that can enable women of all diverse backgrounds to love STEM or STEM. This, I believe, should be deliberate from government so that we increase our number and the percentage of women in engineering because it's perspective.
Okay. Well, still on higher education, Malawi has successfully delinked its oldest institution of higher learning into 3 separate universities, 11 years after former President Binguwa Mutharika mooted the idea to the University Council in 2009. Mutharika, who succeeded Banda, rekindled the idea, which the current administration and the President Lazarus Chakwera has now concluded. The Malawi Ministry of Education has gazetted May 2021 to be the commencement date of Act of Parliament numbers 18, 19 and 20 of 2019 that established 3 new universities, namely a reconstituted University of Malawi, the University of Business and Applied Sciences, and Kamuzu University of Health Sciences, respectively, through government notice numbers 27, 28 and 29 of 2021, published in the Malawi Gazette Supplement, dated April 26, 2021. From May 4th to December 31st, 2021, the transition unit will be working on the Ministry of Education and councils of the 3 universities to ensure that all requirements for an optimal transition takes place as outlined in the 2018 report by the Task Force on Delinking the UNIMA constituent colleges. Well, there we have it. Malawi University successfully delinking its university into 3 different universities. But I want to find out what the rationale behind this delinking of university is in the first place.
I'll talk about the quality of education. I think that the linking is going to help improve their education delivery or their lecture delivery, because as they were together as one whole, even though there was a quality in education, I think that the linking is going to make it so focused that there will be time, the time for students to actually, interact with the lecturers, where the students, are not as many as when they were in one university. So I think it's going to help. And which is the SDG goal 4, that is the quality of education. And also funding, direct funding into teaching and learning. I think most funds that come from the different 3 universities is going to be directly focused on teaching and learning, even though as a whole it was. But now, since they are on their own, they would have to maintain that standard as they were one. So more funds will be going straight into their teaching and learning.
Okay, Agyemang.
Yeah, I think that the journey to delink this university has, come a very long way since the time of Mr. Salezi Bingu Mutharika, who passed away in 2011, and we taken over by Miss Joyce, Mr. Joyce Banda, who also took place and also put the same agenda. Today, we find it here, but I must confess that it got to a time where it was held. This decision was called back, reversed by Salezi Chakwera, because he felt that there was some ultra-virus, means that the University Council, or let's say Parliament, was perhaps exercising something beyond their powers. So University Council against Parliament had decisions which were a loggerhead. But later on it was reviewed and then it was brought to being. But I'm amazed by the purpose, the rationale, that it was basically to create more access, which is one of the challenges affecting African higher education institutions. We are not creating more access for more people to go to school and acquire degrees. But I want to quickly, by your permission, refer to what happened in Rwanda 2013 when they merged the universities. Because they saw that if they merge, the funds will be consolidated, they will better have human resources to work, and also they could have a standardized quality education. But in delinking means that you have enough and you really want to now create more branches. So with delinking, we look forward for more autonomy for these universities, which are now delinked, more power for them, reduce bureaucracy, cut overhead costs, and also, more importantly, direct more funding into teaching and learning for these institutions. So I think basically, great purpose, great rationale, creating more access and quality education is very important.
You know, I'd also want to touch on focus because, you know, when the university was together, perhaps they were having problems with focusing on specific courses because when you come to Ghana, for instance, the University of Ghana specifies on arts courses. If you go to Tech, the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, they also focus on science courses. So perhaps I think delinking the universities will ensure that specific universities focus on specific cause to be able to groom students to become the best of themselves.
Exactly.
Well, I would also want to touch on President Lazarus Chakwera, who warned the three created universities on the need to maintain high standards. I have a statement here by him. He says, we should not get carried away by the euphoria this causes, because making the three new universities operate at the highest standard of education will require sacrifice from all stakeholders. What are these sacrifices?
You know, I'll talk about stakeholders, you know, exhibiting good qualities. Let me say authorities of the school being able to exhibit good leadership qualities like being humble, the courage, you know, as clearance and all that. It will, I think, help, you know, I think these are some of the requirements that stakeholders should exhibit. And also I'll talk about the stakeholders making sure that resources are available in such institutions. That is why they are stakeholders. They have to make sure that these institutions have what it takes to actually run as a system. So I think, yes, these are some of the requirements.
Okay, Agyemang.
Yeah, I think that more hard work in terms of R&D. So if the University of Malawi primarily was doing more research, now that we've delinked them to three new universities, are they going to still hit some of the standards on that top-notch, cutting-edge research and development that is able to drive innovative graduates? That is what we're talking about here.
Okay, you know, President Lazarus also mentioned that it is one thing to desire being a university of your own, but it is quite another to be a university whose degrees are worth more than the paper they are printed on. The ball is in your court, Agyemang. What do you make of this?
Well, I think that this is a closing call for the universities that, well, this is the time you have to prove that the linking of the University of Malawi wouldn't be in vain, or it wasn't an ultra-virus in purpose, but it is for the good of access to quality education.
Okay.
You are now supposed to now generate, churn out graduates who speak to their quality, who speak to their skill, and not just the paper, but rather who will be problem solvers, who do research, critical thinkers, nation transformers, people who will wet the paper of the degree. That's what you're talking about.
Okay.
I would say this is really an understatement because institutions in Africa, you know, do not necessarily look at producing students who will become problem solvers in the community or something, but they look at producing graduates who come out with good grades, who their grades will speak for themselves. And I don't think this statement is solely for the delinked university. I think it's a problem at large which should be looked at.
Great.
Well, it is a problem at large and has to be looked at. Health news is up next.
Okay, moving on with our health news. Scientists believe a stomach-specific protein plays a major role in the progression of obesity, according to new research. The study could help with development of therapeutics that would help individuals struggling and achieving the maintaining lost weight. Scientists believe a stomach-specific protein plays a major role in the progression of obesity, according to new research in scientific reports. Researchers focus on gastrokin-1, a protein produced exclusively and abundantly in the stomach. Previous research has suggested gastrokin 1 is resistant to digestion, allowing it to pass into the intestine and interact with microbiomes in the gut. Moore and his team conducted a microbiome analysis of mouse models with and without the gastrokin 1 protein expressed. Researchers measured food intake, caloric extraction, blood sugar, insulin, and triglyceride levels. Models without gastrokin 1 weighed less and had lower levels of total body fat and higher percentage of lean mass despite consuming the same amount of food. When put on a high-fat diet, models without gastrokin 1 showed a resistance to weight gain, increased body fat, and hepatic inflammation, which can lead to liver disease. Researchers also found no evidence of adverse effects such as cancer, diabetes, loss of appetite, malabsorption, or inflammation, and results were consistent in male and female models. So according to the same research, we see that gastrokin 1 is a protein produced exclusively and abundantly in the stomach. But my question is this certified that gastrokin 1 is responsible for obesity in our bodies?
Well, I would want to first of all state that gastrokin 1 produced in the stomach is first of all resistant to digestion. And so with that kind of protein in your stomach, it makes it almost impossible for digestion to happen. Therefore, it could be responsible for indigestion and obesity. But I must also say that as to whether it is certified as to being the only cause of obesity, I'd say it's more complex than that, because while the study may be true, there are other causes that influences obesity, and some of these are taking in food that has got high fat and sugar in it, eating carbohydrates food, sleeping right after eating, lack of physical activities. For some people, medications alone even gets them obese. For some people, overeating also does that for them. So I think gastrokin 1 may be in some extent responsible for obesity, but it goes beyond that. There are other causes.
Exactly.
Yeah, notwithstanding what Lydia is saying, I think Dr. David Boone from the University of Indiana also expressed that there's more room for further development and research to certify that if gastrokin 1 is responsible for progressive obesity in the body. However, there had been a study, he conducted a research, and that is what I want to base my argument on, that in his research in the 2 mouse models, where one mouse model had gastrokin 1 in it and the other didn't have.
Yes.
They all were fed on high diet food.
Exactly.
But at the end of the day, the findings show that the mouse which was without gastrokin 1 had some resistance to weight gain. There was no increase of body fat and also hepatic inflammation. So all these obese symptoms or obese indicators were not seen in that mouse which had no gastrokin 1. This is convincing that then gastrokin 1 is maybe that protein-specific element that progresses obesity in humans. So even though we're still open for further research and studies, I'm a bit 80% sure that GKN1 is responsible for this.
Okay, so moving on. The COVID-19 pandemic severely impacted the mental health of young people, with increased level of clinical depression being identified, a new study reports. Also of concern, researchers identified a significant shift towards a preference to go to sleep and wake later, which has previously been associated with higher levels of anxiety and a greater prevalence of minor psychiatric disorders. Okay, so according to research, those who were surveyed were found to have more than doubled, rising from the 14 to 9% in autumn 2019 to 34.7 in May 2020. So what do you make of these findings? Do you think it's increasing or?
Well, I quite agree with the study, because during the lockdown, people were faced with all sort of things. I mean, you can talk of fear, stress, worry, and all these things are major factors that influences depression. you know, first of all, the fear of contracting COVID alone could get you depressed.
Exactly.
The fact that you are stressed about what's going on, the fact that you are worried that your family members may contract COVID, pass it on to you, the fact that they may die, you could die, the fact, I mean, it was just a whole lot of stress. So it makes perfect sense that the study says during the lockdown, it was seen that people were more depressed as compared to after the lockdown.
Yeah, and with the issue of anxiety, it's quite funny, you know. If you were in a public transport and then you sneeze, the least sneeze, you just get people looking at you with face like, what are you doing here?
Exactly.
Like, get down with your COVID. Like, we just became overly judgmental with the least thing you did that we thought perhaps could help infect someone. That also be the case. Alcohol intake went down because we can't even meet friends.
Social gatherings.
Friends, meetings. So it's all resorted to sleeping. Just sleep and hope you don't get COVID.
Exactly. So just sleep and hope you don't get COVID. Stay tuned as we bring you more of science and technology news after the short break.
Come to GTP Health and Safety Corner. If you feel like stepping out, remember social distancing. You might just save a life. Rock at home, stay at home. Stay safe. Wash your hands with soap under running water. Spaced out but still in touch. Check in on your loved ones and stay safe. GTP, timeless.
So in our science technology segment today, I'm glad to be bringing you the newly discovered material by the Japan Advanced Institute of Science and Technology. It's said to help batteries slow down the degradation process, retaining 95% of your original capacity over 5 years or longer. So if this is true, your new smartphone will remain usable for much longer than before. That's if you want to keep it for 5 years or more in the first place. Manufacturers have been increasing the battery capacity on their phones for the past few years, and now a 5,000 mAh battery in a phone is very common. This would have been considered insane a few years ago, but people are on their phones all the time, so it only makes sense to give them the best battery life possible. However, what people often overlook is the fact that even bigger batteries will degrade over time, just like smaller ones, thanks to a number of software enhancements over the years that stop the battery charging to its full capacity and report its condition to the user. This has been improved quite a bit. The solution might come closer than we thought, thanks to a Japanese scientist team from the Japan Advanced Institute of Science and Technology, or JAIST. The newly discovered material is said to help batteries slow down the degradation process, retaining 95% of their original capacity over 5 years or longer. If this is true, your new smartphone will remain usable for much longer than before. That's if you wanted to keep it for 5 years or more in the first place. Anyway, the new material discovered by JAIST is called bis-amino ace naphthene quinone paraphenylene. It is said to aid the batteries in smart devices, keep 95% of their capacity even after 1,700 battery cycle. If any of this sounds familiar, that's because the abstract name of the new battery tech is a complicated way of saying graphite. As stated by Professor Machumi, the new battery tech is expected to make smartphones more reliable in the long term, also making them more sustainable. It seems like the tech will also benefit manufacturers, which are expected to start entering a new market for smart devices. So this new technology is called bis-amino ace naphthene quinone paraphenylene. It has a very long word, like a Harry Potter magic word, but it's aka called the graphite. But what do you think this brings out? I mean, the prospects for this new technology?
You know, personally, I think just for the mere fact that this technology contains a material that helps batteries slow down, and then the fact that it retains 95% of the original capacity over 5 years longer, I think it's amazing, because this means we are going to have more reliable phones, more phones that you can still use after a period of 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Because, I mean, these days you realize that you buy your phones and then after 1 year or two, you can't use it because the battery becomes weak. But if this technology is offering as a material that would slow down the degradation of the battery, I think it's an amazing one.
Yeah, so amazing.
Okay, so I also think it's an amazing one, notwithstanding what Lydia is saying. That means you're going to have phones that, you know, can take us a long time before even charging or before even, you know, changing it. And I think as compared to it, nowadays we have phones that you know, even when there is light out for a day, 24 hours, you are thinking of how you are going to get your phone charged. So with this new technology coming in to, you know, enhance the battery system of mobile phones, I think it's going to ease off that, you know, problem on us, and also, you know, enhance the phones that we use.
Yeah, and I think that it's becoming the hot cake in the market where Android users and also Apple is just buying in. And
Exactly.
I think that it was going to be a big help for Apple users.
Exactly.
Wrapping up, let's take a quick recap of our headlines. On higher education, institution appoints first black woman dean in engineering. And again, University of Malawi delinquent finally accomplished.
And in our health news, stomach may be the secret to fighting obesity. And also, COVID-19 pandemic severely impacts mental health of young people.
In our tech news, a newly discovered technology expected to dramatically improve your phone's battery.
Now, thank you very much for staying with AAU TV as we keep you informed. My name is Lydia Nyame.
And I am Jemima Deladem Dotsey.
My name is Agyemang. Darko. We're glad you had time to watch us. Just keep watching our programs and keep safe. Have a nice day and bye.